All right, we're going to have a discussion section, and the question was brought forth. How many of the Jews who are born again will receive the mark of the beast? The answer is 0. Now, they can and may be born again, because it is specifically taught that they'll be born again, and they'll either be born again into everlasting life or everlasting contempt. Bear with me in not explaining that, because I don't fully understand. Why would someone be born again at the beginning of the 1,000 years only to be born again and brought back into an everlasting contempt, or in other words, a hell on earth? Okay. I don't know if that's because they will be judged more severely. Speaking of the leaders in the 1,000 years, the leaders of the Jewish faith, that is speculation. That is not strictly and solely based in Scripture. But no one who takes the mark of the beast will come back and receive everlasting life. That's my statement. They will not live through that entire 1,000 years. They may come back in everlasting contempt, and therefore be in Sheol. And we have more people here who are more experts than me on that. And they will suffer here on earth. There will be a literal pit. There will be a literal pit that you can see down into, where you can see souls suffering and all those other kind of things in that everlasting contempt. And those who live through the 7 years and then experienced the 1,000 years, I believe that they did not accept Christ and did not accept what he was and took the mark of the beast in those 7 years. I believe they are definitely in that living through the end of the 7 and the beginning of the 1,000. They are definitely, if they took the sign of the beast, mark of the beast, they're definitely in that everlasting contempt. Okay? That'd be the best way to put that.
Can we add where the just and unjust
yeah, for sure.
are to that time?
So just resurrection versus unjust. So initially, and was it Nicodemus? I can't remember exactly. But anyway, no, it wasn't. Who was it? Somebody said, hey, we know of the resurrection at the end of time, but now you're talking about one before that. So initially, if Christ hadn't died, he would not have forgiven the sin of the world, all the sins of the world. If he hadn't forgiven all the sins of the world at that time, there would have been nobody coming back at the time of the just, because they wouldn't have been justified. He wouldn't have forgiven them. They would have only been the remission of sins. So this is the just resurrection. This is the unjust. Knowing that there's a blurry spot with regards to somebody coming back at the just resurrection, but yet coming back in everlasting contempt. Okay? Just knowing that. But again, that might be the ones who live through it. Don't take that as verbatim, but that might be the ones who lived through it, who lived through the rapture, because they weren't part of us. They're a bunch of Jews. Now the 7-year tribulation, the 70th week of Daniel, the Jews, nation of Israel coming back to God. But if they live through that and live through this time period, they will be born again, either just or to contempt. But if the Jews from right about in here, year 2000, when the nation of Israel began, and then Isaac and then Jacob, which truly was renamed Israel, back here about 2000 BC, from that time all through here, if they followed whatever the gospel was at their time, so Noah, Moses, David, all those guys, if they followed the gospel that was given to them and they kept whatever instructions were given to them, they will come back at the just. The rest of the Jews, like it's talked about in Revelation, they sleep until the end of the 1,000 years. And they are brought back at this time, at the unjust. And then they will be judged for their works. These guys aren't going to be judged for their works. They've already been judged for their works. Stop it, they're just. And they're not going to sin through the entire thing because they have the Spirit, which we'll talk in detail next week, but they have the Spirit from the capital Spirit. So their spirit is of that Spirit. So the Spirit that they get, the thoughts, the interpretations, the belief system, everything that they have at the beginning of this will cause them to not sin. So they're going to live the whole way through this. So what is there to be judged? He already judged it here. So this is the big judgment day for the Jews to be brought back as just. You are justified. But guess what? If you're still sleeping and you're still dead, you got trouble because you're coming back at this one and you will be judged at the white throne judgment. Not us, the Jews. Us, we're not part of either one of them. We're not part of the judgment seat of Christ or the white throne judgment. What are we judged on? We're not judged on any works. We didn't do any works to do anything. We had faith only. Okay? We're not in either one of those, the just or the unjust. Good? Make sense? Cool. Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad that we got that on video. We've talked about that a couple times, but now I think it's getting better. Let's see. Any other thoughts or questions? Does it seem big enough? Am I telling the story big enough that this resurrection of the dead is that important? Because, man, Christ coming back, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. They've been praying for it for 2,000 years that the kingdom comes, that the 1,000 years comes.
I think it was really
prayer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I said. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Get the kingdom here. That's the focus.
That's what we've been praying for.
Yeah, well, they've been praying for it for all these years. We prayed for it for a lot of years, but...
We've been praying the Lord's Prayer for a long
Exactly. And that has nothing to do with eternal salvation. It has everything to do with everlasting salvation. The everlasting life. That is the Lord's Prayer. Give me the rewards. Matter of fact, I'm going to forgive people their debts as I'm forgiven my debts. In other words, I'm going to forgive people their bad works so that my bad works get forgiven, so I can enter into everlasting life. The physical, right? So, yeah, that whole prayer it's a great prayer. It's scriptural. It's just not written to us. Yeah. Yeah.
And therein is the anticipation that for the Jews, that their rewards will be greater than somebody else's or whatever.
Yeah, I know a lot of, we've even got family members who think that they're going to have jewels in their crown. Well, that's scriptural, but not for us. It's during that 1,000 years, they're going to have physical jewels placed in their crown about how much knowledge they have and how much wisdom and how they've done good things. And blessed are the peacemakers. Man, blessed are all the blesseds, all the beatitudes. Well, that's all going to happen in those 1,000 years. Those people who have been meek and kind and all the gentle and whatever else like that, the beatitudes say, they're going to be rewarded for all of their physical actions in the kingdom, in the 1,000 years, in the everlasting life.
And be born again.
And be born again at the beginning of it.
Thing that we've often
Bro, how many friends have we had who have said, I'm born again? Well, born again, doing due diligence and understanding that this is called the will of God. 22 times this book says the will of God. We've all had that study, right? It is the will of God. You should not expect to get everything in somebody's will just because you've read it, right? You have to read it and say, oh, beginning of James, to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. That probably isn't written to you. Just like in a will, you have to read at the header of the top of the paragraph. Let's see. Bob, you're getting the 57 Chevy. Well, Jim, you shouldn't expect to get it. Or Steve. It's going to Bob. Right? So if the heading of a book says to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, you probably should assume it's not written or given to you. Not unless you're part of that tribe. You know? Yeah. So when tithing is instructed to us in Scripture, is it scriptural? Yep. Is it written to you? I don't think so. Because the tribe of Benjamin was going to get that money. It wasn't talking about a modern day church. Anyway.
Reminds me of a lady that used to come just after the offering. So she was right.
Interesting. In at the church?
She got always
Really? That's funny.
just after the offering.
That's called rightly dividing the scripture time, or the church time. No, I'm just kidding. 2 Timothy 2:15 is what I was referring to. Study to show thyself approved, word need not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth.
And here, I'm sure a lot of the people that were there were a little bit condemning of her at that time.
Yeah.
Well, I sure didn't know all this, all these verses.
Well, there's a lot of verses, so thanks for sticking with us.